Welcome everybody to the World Championship Series Global Finals. As always, we are still live from Burbank in California as we get ready for the final game of the evening, the final elimination match of the tournament at this very stage. Here is the couch, the wonderful couch with my three favorite guests. It is Nathanius, it is Artosis, and it is In Control. Welcome, gentlemen, to the final game of the day, and it is a big one. It is a very big one. It is Nerchio, who's been put down to the elimination match, versus the Season 2 champion of Star League, Solar.
The fact that one of these two guys is going to go 0-2 and be out of BlizzCon is amazing. But I feel like this group in particular speaks to the difficulty of BlizzCon and what you come to expect. There have been some mismatches, but this is not one of those, at least on paper. Like, Solar is one of the best Zergs on planet Earth. He did beat the other best Zerg on planet Earth to probably get here. Yeah. And Nerchio has been bearing that torch for the foreign scene for a while. He is neck and neck, as I said earlier, with Neeblet and Snoot as two of the absolute, they are the best. They are the absolute best. And what's so crazy, in particular for me, is Nerchio in that TY match, that was a slugfest. It was a really good series, and yet if he loses here, he's out. And if people look at it, they're like, oh, Nerchio, maybe he choked or something. It's like, no. He's playing really good people. Really good people.
That would be a killer, too, because Kespa Cup was the exact same thing, where it's like, oh, you almost beat Maru. But you didn't beat Maru, so everyone talks about Neeb. And it's it's not like Nerchio got worse. That's a tough match, and he ends up losing. And here he is in the loser match, playing a ZVZ. The thing is, a laser, I don't want to do this, oh, well, he beat him, and he beat him, but then he lost a game on the ladder to this guy at his house, so that guy's the best player in the world. No, that's not the way it is, but Nerchio normally beats a laser. So if a laser beats Solar, you should be thinking that Nerchio can do this, right?
And it gets scary for a laser, by the way, because if Nerchio does clean up here, and a laser loses probably to TY, for the kind of similar reasons you were just mentioning, laser's the worst CVT player between those two, all of a sudden it's Nerchio versus a laser to decide who advances.
This is just the story of a laser's life. It's like, I don't know. I happen to be born in the same country as Nerchio.
At the same time? Like, what? Well, similar time.
It follows me around.
and because of a laser, this is where Solar's found himself, the Season 2 Star League champion, facing elimination. And in the very first round, the very first stages, it's almost unthinkable, really. I think a lot of people would have pegged Solar definitely as a top 8 finisher, potentially top 4, and maybe on a very, very good weekend, he'd be going higher. But it is Nerchio now who's going up against him. He did win DreamHack Valencia in the WCS circuit this year, and has had multiple top 4 finishes, a couple of finals as well.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about Solar's path, especially in Legacy of the Void. He was one of those guys that was playing very early. Anyone that watched the beta tournaments for Legacy of the Void, it was always Solar and Beyond in the finals of every single one, just constantly going at it, trading victories. He's been at it, and he's been very consistently terrorizing online leagues and such and so forth until, of course, team obligated things and such and that. And then taking that Star League finals, the weirdest part about it for me still is just how all the matchups have played out. That he was able to beat Dark and then lose to a laser, but Nerchio is someone that you would usually in your mind have above a laser, especially in results this year. Yeah. So it just creates a very confusing picture to look at.
I mean, surely looking at a different angle here, this must be an advantage for Nerchio going into this series. Solar's already played a Zerg versus Zerg. There's no way Solar's hiding anything at the level of this tournament against the laser. He would have gone all out. So, and especially you put in the factor that Nerchio and the laser are going to talk. He felt weak here. He did this, do this. There's clearly advantages for Nerchio.
And there is that confidence booster for Nerchio where he's playing the guy that lost to a laser, and historically, Nerchio feels very confident against a laser. So it isn't so transferable and binary where it's like, if I'm playing the guy that lost to the guy that I feel good about, that must mean I'm going to win. But there is a voice in your head that says, you can do this. You certainly can. And I feel like for a lot of foreigners in particular going into a BlizzCon, they're like, I'm facing the SSL champion, I'm facing so-and-so, I stand no chance. If I make it a fight, that's cool. I feel like that attitude really has shifted this year, but certainly we're seeing it kind of cauterized at this BlizzCon where it's like, no, these guys have every right to get past this group.
And I think that's a sad thing for Solar, really, because he has accomplished so much. But right now, he's in Nerchio's mind, the guy who just lost to a laser. He's not the Star League 2 champion, So how does Solar kind of come over that, Dan?
Well, part of the interesting thing is that he played an off style of ZVZ against a laser, like not really that standard. And because he's playing that type of style and lost to a laser, now Nerchio has a ton of information. So if he starts to get a little bit confused, he can be like, no, I already know what this is. I already saw it. But you can play mind games against that as well. Like he could make it start to look the same, and then pull out the counter to that. You know, and start doing a little bit of mind games against Nerchio.
You're not wrong, but we're getting deep. This is a dream inside of a dream, Dan.
So the game is ready. I've heard the players already and eager to begin. So I'm going to have to ask you for my favorite thing, and it is the predictions, the results. How do we think
I like
this is going?
Nerchio
Who's
and
eliminated?
In the past, I'm that idiot biased for all foreigners forever, but I would put hot dogs or money or whatever you're betting on. You bet on hot dogs.
Burgers.
I was trying to stay away from money because I'm not sure if we're supposed to mention that we can bet money on matches, so I said hot dogs. But, you know, whatever. Yeah, Nerchio. And I feel like a pretty strong Nerchio. I would love it to be wrong. I'd love it for Solar to show us a new form, but he just did not impress against Elazer. And Nerchio is that next step up from Elazer. Not a lot, by the way. Elazer and him do trade wins and losses, but he is better.
We'll save the best to last, Nathanius.
I would have said Solar if this was like the first match or the winner's match, but being the way that he went down to Elazer, I kind of feel for Nerchio. He played an incredibly strong series earlier against TY, who's one of the picks to win the whole thing. So yeah, I got to go with Nerchio on this one.
How many hot dogs would you bet on that?
I mean, I prefer burgers, so you can have them all, Jeff. It's okay.
All the hot dogs.
If you're that hungry.
I like it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I would put at least 2-3 veggie dogs onto onto Nerchio here. Like, Solar was not looking super hot against the Elazer. He wasn't looking specifically bad or anything, but having that information about this off style, because like the thing is, you can go back and watch, you know, all of Solar's ZVZ VODs, which I would be surprised if Nerchio didn't do this, but to see what he brings on the day, how he's looking on the day, and the fact that, like, literally they're both Polish and they can talk to each other about the match in their native language and how did this feel, what did you think, and he can also watch the games. It's like everything looks like it's in Nerchio's favor.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Hope you guys at home are excited for this one. Who's going through, who's going home? We'll take this quick break and then we'll find out.
StarCraft 2 WCS Global Finals is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
What's up, boys and girls? It's Tasteless joined with Todd, and we are going into our final match of the day, another ZVZ.
Yeah, we've eliminated 3 Zergs. We need to eliminate 1 more. We're getting rid of all of them.
We're not going to stop till they're all extinct. And we're making them do it by them killing each other. It's a brutal day here. The WCS Global Championships. We've already loaded up the game, so we're going to go right into this. And let's see how this all unfolds. Nerchio versus Solar. Over here in the upper left, in the red, he is Solar. You want to do this one, Todd? You want me to do it? This would be a great moment for you to do your
That's like
Tasteless
asking the best guy at intros to basically the worst guy at intros if he wants to do it over the best guy at intros.
Oh,
so
you flatter
no,
me.
no, I do not.
I'll do it in the bottom right, in the blue. From the foreign scene, he is Nerchio.
One day I'll be half as good as you.
Oh, Todd. So good to be back with you, man.
Likewise.
You get to be my caster on the side. I'm normally just with Artosis, so don't tell him I'm here casting with you. He's going to be very upset about this.
Solar, I think, definitely for him, earlier a pretty disappointing series up against the Laser, so he definitely wants revenge against another Polish Zerg here.
That's right.
But Nerchio, you know, we talked about this. He's most likely worked very hard here versus Zerg, right? It's 1 Tyrian and 2 Zergs in his group. It's the one matchup that's been known for some time to be his Achilles heel, so most likely he's worked very hard in it. Now it's time to prove it. He goes up against a Solar that's on the ropes, that's very capable and being very aggressive, which is also kind of what Nerchio has struggled in the past, when there is those timings that come his way that he doesn't really understand, misjudge a little bit on the amount of units, and then kind of sometimes takes damage and falls behind against.
Can I just point out how weird it is that these two are playing in this phase of the tournament? I did not think they're going to be meeting like this, that's for sure. Both these guys gotta kind of rep the ZVZ scene from their regions of the world. You know, Nerchio is about as good as you can ask for a European Zerg. And especially with Solar here. I mean, ZVZ, this guy, at least when he was coming in here into Burbank, over here in our studios, you know, before the game started, we would say, well, this guy, I don't know, he might be the best ZVZ player ever in StarCraft 2. But now...
that was Jadon.
That was, I don't know, actually. I would still say Solar. So let's see what happens. We are playing for the tournament lives right now. We do see both of them now getting the Baneling's Nest. It does look like Solar's is going to be here a little bit quicker, and now the third bases are going to be landing down, along with Link Speed. You know, ZVZ, especially if there's nothing too aggressive, there's a lot of different ways you can open up and kind of end up in the same spot.
Isn't it crazy that there were 7 Zergs going into this round of 16, and it's going to be either 1 or 2 in the round of 8?
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Assuming that Dark advances, it's going to be 2, because one of, in this group, there's at least going to be 1, because it's 3 Zergs.
And
so.
well, what's also crazy just about that in general is, like, a lot of these Korean players, I think I'm going to call it the Neeb effect, is since Neeb came and started dominating, it just seems like a lot of these Korean players are just not doing as well. Or perhaps I should say the non-Korean players are actually really catching up.
Yeah, it really seems so. At least the best of them. A lot of things were made here by Nerchio, who's moving across the map. Those Banelings are being morphed here by Solar, but some of those are a little bit late. So let's see if Nerchio can do any damage here with this, because that was an investment there. He's behind on drones.
Oh, he actually managed to run by. Heading up over here into the main, into the upper left. A couple Lings here to try to defend. The Baneling's going to try to catch up to the Lings here. Up, Nerchio down here. It doesn't look like Solar has anything to defend. Already a huge blow. 10 drones picked off.
Wow. That was huge there. From there, we're going to have Solar on 26 drones, Nerchio on 35. And Nerchio immediately starts a World Try, and Solar is trying to catch back up on the drone count by squeezing out as many of those as he can. Nice defense here on the natural, using the mineral trick to try and hide some of these guys. Lair is now going to start for both players.
Does look like Solar's going to try to seesaw the action back onto his opponent's side of the match. Heading southbound now towards Nerchio. Although I'm under the impression Nerchio should be in good shape, but to hold this off, he's already got Banelings actually being morphed in a good spot to try to lock out the possibility of Solar running up into the main. Drone count here right now, excuse me, what is it? It's 38 to 44, so a pretty substantial lead here for Nerchio. I got to say, Solar seems to be having a bad day in this matchup so far.
Absolutely, I didn't expect these Lings here of Nerchio to kill this much, but he definitely put in some real good work here already. And those defensive Banelings, just now they finished exactly on time. He starts 5 Roaches here, 7 even, so he's getting quite a few. I wonder if he really wants to be aggressive. Usually you're going to want to mix in a decent amount of Roaches to be in a good position defensively and still get drones, but the counter-attack still gets more drones here.
Yeah, I mean, 2 more drones go down. And I like what you're saying, Todd, because, you know, a lot of times you get a lead, what do you want to do? As the great Tosis has said, you want to get more ahead. But yeah, he could have actually gone in there and been aggressive. I was going to say maybe he wanted to be attacking, but now I see a bunch more drones. It looks like he's almost feigning a further all-in. He just has some Roaches. He wants Solar to enter panic mode here. And behind that, yeah, he's getting a Spire.
Yeah, this is really cool here to see Nerchio do this. He's going kind of far, to be honest. I really feel like he should pull back very soon, otherwise these units could be caught. Although it's Roaches and Banelings, it's kind of hard to catch this guy and skill them right out, because you would be losing a lot as well as Solar, who's right now in panic mode. He's getting 4 overlords at the time. He's squeezing out as many roaches as he can. Solar is like, I'm having a terrible day in ZVZ. I need to somehow survive because I don't want to be losing to 2 Polish jerks here and go out of the tournament. But right now, Nerchio, since he's closing in on the completion here of that Spire, he's going to be in a great position. Actually, he's very close to an Overlord.
It's weird. Yeah, he didn't see it. But the Overlord moved away. But that's a funny spot for a Spire because you're not really... So you can kind of hide this out in the open, guys, and they're not looking for it. They want to be checking the main or the net. And actually comes in here into the main now with Lynx. Coming up, going to be going for some more drones. Any more kills he can get? We already have 8 more down. Oh, we got it in the upper right. Looks like you got some Banelings up there and managed to take out a bunch. Solar is falling apart, Todd.
Nerchio is just wrecking him right now, and he's going to start Mutas. That's completely unexpected. A Hydra then now started for Solar there, but that's fairly late. Like he's probably going to lose a bunch of Overlords out on the map. Map control is going to be for Nerchio, who's ahead by a few drones, just 2 in total. So he's a little bit ahead economically. And in terms of that +1 missile, I guess Solar this is the only thing that he's doing a little bit better in, because he started this one a little bit earlier. And both players actually go for the middle base, by the way, as a 4th. Lurker then immediately starts as Hydra, then finishes for Solar.
Oh, look at this. I'm a little bit surprised. Okay, Muta's already out now. He's going to be now pushing out the rest of the Overlords. You got to remember in ZVZ, if he can drive back the Overlords, it's going to be a dark and scary place in this map. And a forced cancel. Nerchio is like winning in every possible way that you can win in this phase of the game.
The roaches of Solar were out of position for just 1 second, and he doesn't have Hydralisks just yet against those Mutas, so he was like, I'm just going to cancel that delay. The one thing that I'm going for me is that I'm going into Hydralisks and Lurkers against somebody who made Mutas. But Nerchio, again, with a very big win, and it's really starting to show supply-wise here, where he's towering over his opponents.
Muta's now going up here. This is what we'd call a pin here. The Hydras can't really go on the offense because the Mutas are out here. But meanwhile, I think Nerchio, just with the tremendous lead he already has, is now attacking over here at the natural base. And as you can see, Solar is in a lot of trouble. He's just getting run over by the army of Nerchio. There it is. GG.
What a massacre here. Nerchio, he was in control the entire game. From the first Zergling attack, he killed a ton of drones, and then from there, he kept on extending his lead. And he was not shy at all either. He wasn't like, I'm doing well, it's time to take things slow a little bit. No, kept on attacking, and every single attack did more and more damage, and Solar just got absolutely destroyed here in game number 1.
I got 3 words to describe Nerchio: bigger, faster, stronger. He was completely outmaneuvering. Wait, that's also a documentary, isn't it? Wait, is that a documentary, guys? But is it the Daft Punk song? Is it the Daft Punk song as well? All right, so all right. I was thinking of the documentary. You were thinking of the Daft Punk. Well, I had to fact check. Okay, we take this very seriously here with our metaphors at the WCS Global Championship. We're going to be going into game number 2 now. And,
oh man, Solar is just having the worst of days.
I don't know if it's just that Nerchio is that good right now, or Solar is that bad, or some mix of the two.
I mean, there was some mention that, that because there's 2 Zergs in the group, he might have focused again on the one matchup that has been his weakest in the past, and that's really only because he was so damn good against Protoss and Terran that it's kind of hard to be as good against Zerg here for Nerchio. But so far, he looked flawless. That was so impressive. He just took a player who recently won a big tournament over in Korea and just smashed him completely.
Yeah. Really a kind of an odd day here. We're already loaded up in game number 2. So let's go ahead and hop into this right now, guys. Nerchio with a 1-0 lead versus Solar. Let's see if Solar turns this around, or at least starts to, or if Nerchio is going to win this. In the upper right, in the red, he is Solar. In the bottom left, in the blue, his opponent. From Poland, he is Nerchio.
Tasteless, I'm really worried for Solar because Nerchio looked so good in that first game. That was insane.
He was actually pretty sick in that last game. If you had covered up the IDs, because I probably have some biases, I'm casting GSL, right? So I'm like, the Koreans are the best. But then if you cut up those IDs and show me that game, I'd be like, yeah, I knew that Solar was going to beat him. And then you'd be like, aha! Tasteless. That was Nerchio. And I would go, oh, no! But we got to see it firsthand there.
It kind of looked like a grandmaster against a gold player. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, it looked like a mismatch on the ladder. So
actually, that's maybe way too strong.
That was actually pretty rough, man. That was
Let me take that back before the haters jump on me.
We're coming for you, Todd. No, I think in that game back there, you would have thought, I mean, unless it ended right away, you would have thought it would have been super close and gone into late game, right? But Nerchio was just dominating. Solar really feeling the heat here.
And the crazy thing is it wasn't even like a build or the win or anything. They had a mirror build up until the point Nerchio made a couple more links and did that run by what that's Solar was supposed to be ready for, but just wasn't. And he started losing drones left and right. And from there, that was the absolute Polish snowball that just continued the whole game.
Yeah, man.
Actually, I'm happy that we see mirror builds because, you know, I really feel like that's one of the best ways to figure out, you know, without any kind of build advantage, who's better in general, really.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree because a lot of times, and not always, and this is not like a hard rule in StarCraft 2, but, you know, you can get in a situation where two guys, especially on a map with multiple starting locations, be like, oh, that's too bad. I'm just doing the wrong build. And I don't have a chance. And it's more uncommon than it is common, but that does happen. But when you get a mirror matchup where they're both doing the exact same thing, we get to see, you know, who is better, or at least in this case, maybe faster, but also just better at deviating at the right moment into the proper build from there. And if you guys want to learn ZVZ, this is a great way to do it. If you watch two guys do the same build and you see, you know, who comes out on top overall.
It's a great way, make links go across the map and then fail 10 times harder than anybody thinking you're Nerchio.
Well, things are now starting to deviate here. It started out looking fairly similar, but now we have Nerchio with the Baneling's Nest and the Ling speed.
So what Solar's doing is pretty risky. Like if Nerchio was to sit, he will realize that no units will be made for a very long time for Solar, which obviously, like, you can get a wall anyway, but it can get dangerous very fast. Now, Solar, usually when you go for this fast a lair, I'm no Zerg expert, but sometimes as much as you will be able to associate Mutas with this, it's not always necessarily going to be the case. Like, he can still go for roaches and just make sure he gets speed very fast in his upgrades, but he's adding on a lot more gases now, so I'm thinking Mutas are still going to be pretty likely for Solar, whereas Nerchio, who has played this standard so far, he's just getting very few... Actually, no, he's made a couple more links here just now. He's up to 16, so he could try and be aggressive, but that wall's already up, and he's going to spot that, I think.
Well, I think
he spotted that already.
Like, with the way Nerchio's playing now, he's just going to hop over and take a third while this is all going down. A lot of times if you see your opponent do that wall-in with the Evo Chambers and the Roach Warren, even though you're probably going to feel safe, you're also saying, I need to feel safe because I'm busy back here and I don't, I have usually no intention to attack. So I think the third is a good move here, I would say, for Nerchio.
And Solar actually goes for roaches, not quite the Mutas here that I thought he might go into. And it's, okay, so he's getting roach speed and +1 missile. There is no carapace just yet, so he might be aiming to go for timing with a lot of roaches with some upgrades, which, to be honest, I was wondering why he wasn't going to play like this the whole way. If you're as good as Solar, as good on 3 bases and stuff, like why? There's been a few games where he's been playing completely off track. Links are going to get a cancel on that 3rd base quite easily here of Solar, who's going to have to kind of take refuge towards his wall here.
Lings are now coming up here for Nerchio.
And Nerchio, in the meantime, going double Evo and Ling upgrades. He's actually playing a style which, on big maps like this, where you can run around, is very, very strong, because you don't have to take a full-on engagement anytime your opponent's moving out or even attacking you. You can counter-attack with Zerglings. You're going to have a lot of good options. And especially because he's playing against roaches. You can just wait until he gets a full surround, and if he doesn't get it, then he just stays on the map and maybe even counter-attack.
And I was about to say that. Not just to get a surround, but the counter-attacking, with the Ling damage being upgraded like that, you're going to wipe out buildings, workers, all that a lot more quickly. We do see a Solar scooting out of his own base and getting a hatchery. It's going to be considerably later than the hatchery of Nerchio as Solar starts, Nerchio's finishes. But now we're at the point where Nerchio is really beginning to reap the benefits economically of having these 3rd bases. He's starting to make a few more roaches and starting to power up and, get a lair. Yeah,
lair starts really late here, though, for Nerchio, he's been making quite a few units. I think he was really worried some kind of big roach attack was going to head his way from Solar. But now that we see +2 missile start for him and +1 carapace, Solar, I think, is definitely just going to want to look to saturate that third base and go into a longer game with a ton of roaches, where, again, I do think that this is the kind of game where Solar will thrive. Like, I'm not dissing his micro or anything. It's just that those shorter games, they land a lot more to give an advantage to some of his opponents that he's facing in those games than anything.
Yeah, well, and as sick as Nerchio was in game 1, Nerchio also did get in there and kill a bunch of drones, and that's really hard to recover from, you know? I think the fact that these games, in this game, they really haven't been able to bruise each other at all. Maybe Solar's going to be in his element. He's going to be in a place where he's comfortable, and he's going to be able to operate in the late game in a way that perhaps Nerchio can't keep up with.
Yeah, going for a very Ling-heavy and, 2-2 style like you would do against Terran doesn't work nearly as well, I think, in ZVZ. So Nerchio actually was forced to go into roaches, and now he's starting missile upgrades. But guess what? There's going to be +2 against +1 eventually. Lurker then's already on the way here for Solar, who's ahead in walkers by a few. So he's already achieved what I think he wanted to go into, which is basically playing a little bit more solid, making sure he doesn't take any damage early on, playing it safe up to 3 bases. And then from there, I really feel like he's going to be a lot more than his elements. I don't necessarily feel like in the late game he's going to be, a lot better than Nerchio. I'm not saying that, but I do think that Solar, that's when he starts really thriving, when he's on 3 bases, taking more and stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's going to be in a place he wanted to get to. And then it's going to come down to execution, and focus, of course. So, it's been a bit slow here. The supplies are virtually tied right now. It's about 157, 161. And as far as the worker goes, it's about 60 to 66. So Solar with a little bit more economic muscle coming in here. But we're going to have to really see when it comes to the 4th base now, where are they actually going to go? And will they try to stop each other? Or will it continue to be a pretty turtley game? One thing I want to highlight just on this map really quickly here. The 4th base for both players is pretty obvious. Oh, speak of the devil. All right. We have there's the 4th base being taken right now, and that's that. But any bases after that become trickier to hold because you're in the other quadrants of the map that aren't as accessible.
This is really weird. Nerchio's getting a 2nd Baneling Nest, by the way, so that's definitely a mistake. But what this tells me is that he most likely forgot he already had 1. Yeah. And he might want to go into a lot of Banelings right now to do a timing. So just get a ton of Roach Ravagers, add Banelings against the Roaches and potentially Hydralisks of his opponents, and then just crash into him and try and do as much damage as possible with something like 10, 20 Banelings.
I think you're probably right. I would not be surprised at all if we see that coming up here. He actually took out 8 drones back there, and he's going to run away. Now, he's trying to take out some of the Overlords here on the map. That's going to make the movement with his ground army of Roaches a lot more effective because there's a much more of an element of surprise. He can try to outmaneuver his opponent in that way. And it looks like Solar's actually going to go ahead and pursue and try to get a full-on engage here.
I mean, he's got Lurkers. He's ahead in 1 upgrade. If he can get some good siege setup here and he can dodge those bile from those Ravagers, he's going to be in great position.
Okay, Solar now coming in. The concave is pretty good right now for Solar. A good surround. Nerchio on the run. The Lurkers unburrow. Now darting forward. He's going to burrow them again. That's going to force Nerchio to kite backwards here as Solar continues to try to push in for the time being. Nerchio's supply plummeting right now. Solar in the lead, 162 to 136.
And from there, I think the siege will just continue. He's going to get a couple more Ravagers here while Solar. Those Lurkers are very hard to take out, but when you have enough Ravagers, you can just try to shoot them from afar with bite. But I think Solar, knowing that, he's trying to siege really hard.
Oh!
It is his Lurkers exposed.
Yeah, the Lurkers are going to be taken out. Now, there was a decent amount of damage there pressed onto the army of Nerchio. They were all bunched up, so that damage was shared pretty well. They're going to go ahead and try to move back here. Solar regrouping. Now, if he wants to be very careful here. If he overextends, he's going to throw away any advantages he has. But he does have that advantage, and he does want to try to eke out a lot of damage while he still has that. So he's going to try to zone him out, keeping him a little bit to the north, as we see here. Meanwhile, in the south, the hatchery at the bottom is actually under attack by just 2 Roaches. So we don't know if that hatch is going to die, but he definitely can't mine from there while this is going on.
Yeah, I really like this from Nerchio. He tried to posture from behind, try and catch some of those reinforcements that are coming in. Right now, the army supply massively in favor of Solar, and I think that's why he's just that confident staying around the map. He knows that if from there, I mean, he's got a 4th base saturated, and he's attacking the 4th base of his opponent.
Exactly. So while Nerchio's not mining from that base, he's getting a bigger an army, and I think we're going to see the knockout punch come in here in just a second. Once the remaining reinforcements can meet up with Solar's army, I think he's going to go dive in, and oh man, he's actually going to get the hatchery. I think this is the beginning of the end, Todd.
Yeah, Nerchio, he's trying to stay in this somehow, get more reinforcements, but there's just too much. He can lodge dodge by all he wants to. There's just way too much.
That's going to be it. GG. Solar with the comeback, tying this up 1-1.
Solid play all around, and I think he realized that if he didn't lose any drones, goes up to 3 bases, that's, again, really where he starts playing a lot better. Roach against Roaches as well. I've seen a lot of games of Solar in the past. He's kind of like I guess a newer version of Hyun, like really strong with the inject, with getting a ton of Roaches.
I hadn't thought of that.
He kind of reminds me of Hyun in a way.
Yeah, now that you say that.
Well,
but you know, Hyun was pretty scary back when he was on top of his game. But yeah, the style does look quite similar to that. And look, what we saw back there was Solar managing to get through the maze of a build set up so that he can actually have all the pieces to start executing strategically a play that's going to dismember Nerchio. Nerchio, because of this, may try to go back into a more in-your-face style. But then again, it's one of those things that Solar may be expecting that because Solar looks so strong in the late game. He might just be on his guard later on. We're going to have to find out.
There were some very weird things for sure this game from Nerchio, you know, getting the second Baning Nest, and I'm not sure if he was even planning into getting much with it, because he didn't even end up going for it. Like, he got the second Baning Nest, he had 0 Zerglings, and then if you don't have Zerglings, you can go for Banings, but I think he might have been forced to make more Roaches because you realized that Solar was basically going to attack. That was about the time Solar started moving across the map, so maybe Nerchio was like, okay, well, I don't have time to get Zerglings into Banelings, so I'm just going to get more Roaches, and he just kind of misread the situation, I think, in the upgrades, how fast they were coming here for Solar.
All right, this is our final game for today. Nerchio versus Solar, a fight for their tournament lives. In the bottom left, in the red, our Zerg player 1 of 2, he is Solar. In the upper right, in the blue, he is Nerchio.
After what we saw last game here, you know, this is a map where walling off is going to be very important and stuff, so if Solar wants to play a similar style, he can, but in the previous game, I really feel like what made this very strong is that it was a surprise for Nerchio. I don't think he was expecting that, and as much as he scouted the wall, I think he scouted it maybe a little bit late. Ideally, I think if you know that your opponent's going to go straight into Roaches and go for a wall off and play defensive, you're going to play extra greedy. You're going to skip Baneling Nest, you're going to skip Banelings.
Right.
You're just going to build up your economy and then go into Roaches yourself. But Nerchio just didn't know. So now we're in that weird dynamic where if Solar tries to do the same thing, there's a few ways for Nerchio to try and exploit that. And for example, on this map, we'll be playing greedy.
Very greedy. He's taken the gold base, guys, and Solar is not. Solar is playing very, vanilla, very orthodox here. And, I mean, Nerchio, if this is a flavor, what would this be, like cookies and cream? I mean, I don't know.
Peanut butter and jelly and cookies and cream and everything.
Cookies and cream and all sorts of flavors. This is... So now we're going to see, at least with these two, does the orthodox defeat the creative/risky style of play? So...
Can Solar even expect this? Yeah, that's the big question. Because he's not really,
that's actually what I was about to get to.
He's not particularly scouting for it, and even if he were to see it, how much practice does Solar have against this? Because over in Europe, you got guys like Elaser, like Nerchio, they swear by these gold bases. They take them all the time. There are some of the guys that use those the most, so I think they're really used of this kind of game, where they have it and the opponent doesn't. But is Solar actually aware that this is going on, and is he going to react well to it? That's the big question here right now.
Yeah. Whenever you get two different regions in the world playing against each other, you end up with two different metas, to some extent. So
Solar's getting a spine. So he saw a bunch of links. He still hasn't seen that there is a... Okay, right now he knows, I guess. But still, getting a spine against somebody that's going to be mining more than you?
Yeah, well, I guess he has not figured it out. I think Nerchio has effectively duped Solar here. This is going to get worse exponentially here for Solar if Solar can't nip this problem in the bud. Now, he sees the... immediately cancels. Immediately cancels. Very good job there. And now goes for a Baneling's Nest. But every passing second is going to be an economic boost, an economic lead here for Nerchio. And Solar is going to get further and further behind. Now, there's two ways to play this, really, with a gold base. Because you never well, you basically can't just with your income play a normal game, but you either keep expanding and just stay ahead of them and try to smash them later. But the more common one, and it's what we're going to see here, is to go for aggression because you just have so much more at your disposal. You end up running them over.
Can we take a quick look at the income to see like how far ahead Nerchio is through that gold? It's a little bit above 100 more per minute, which is not bad at all. But
you can use it with less workers. Is the other thing. So it's just another few pieces to your army.
I really like that Nerchio, by the way, made the Baneling Nest in the back of his main base because Solar wasn't able to scout that, so he's not gonna know for a long time. And this can definitely provoke a mistake at times from his opponent. He even hides the Roach Warren behind the gold minerals here.
Yeah,
so that's something
like that.
else that's not going to be spotted. I think we might see a game where Lynx, Banelings, and Roaches are masked, and then they just kind of clash. Yeah. And I think both players must already kind of be thinking like that right now.
Well, one game that Solar is going to probably have to play against if this doesn't end immediately. Okay, good. He takes that. He doesn't want to get any scouting in there. He doesn't want to show how many drones he has mining on the gold, or, for instance, that Roach Warren back there. But the third base will be very difficult for Solar to keep because right around when that hatchery is going to finish, there's going to be a timing attack here from Nerchio. Now, you might be wondering, why does he just go do it right now? Well, he's going to have a little bit more later on because he had the gold. And also, if the hatchery finishes and you kill it, then you're down more. And a lot of times workers have to be transferred. It's pretty sticky.
Solar just spotted the Roach Warren of Nerchio. What he didn't spot is those rocks that are being taken out right now at the bottom side of the map where he's taking his third. So this could be very dangerous. You don't see this going down. Lynx can start swooping in, snipe a bunch of drones, maybe attack the hatchery as well if everything's out of position.
Okay, he does spot the Roach Warren.
Actually, he might run by in the main here because there's not much towards the main.
I think you're exactly right. Now he's ready for this.
Oh, there's that one Baneling though.
Yeah.
Look at him, he's like
That's
Roddy.
the bouncer Baneling.
Roddy in the club.
He says, I need some ID, and Solar goes, it's right here, and it's a picture of Solar, and he blows up. That's the twist, Todd. That's what happens.
Oh, the Baneling. Oh my God!
He got we just caught the end of that. What did you see?
He got like 8 Lynx. He got like basically almost every one of them. So now the Queen can defend the rest. That was like,
huge. Good thing I brought my driver's license, and then boom. So we should be seeing, now that the counterattack is basically out. Look, then again, Solar may not, or rather Nerchio may not know that the attack. There's no other counterattack here, but we should be seeing this attack coming here from Nerchio. They both have been mining for a little while now. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, Nerchio having the lair much earlier, this is really nice because he's going to get roach speed quite a bit before his opponents. And from there, honestly, like if you're Nerchio, you don't have to mass units and try and finish it. You're the one that you know is mining more than your opponent. So really all you have to do is just get enough units to survive and then take it to potentially the later stages of the game. But sometimes it ends up equalizing, kind of, because then Solar will be the one to take his gold. But you know, later,
that's something really funny. By the way, I want to say I was actually under the impression there was going to be an imminent timing attack happening, but it's just not. And I'm used to seeing players play a little bit more like that. But this is smart. Remember in Game 1 how he kind of made a small number of roaches and pushed out to make it look like a timing, and then he stayed back? He kind of did the same thing here. And
Solar
for now, go ahead, please.
He's known for loving his Hydralisks. He's getting Hydralisk, then a couple more drones here are gonna die. Nerchio has been so good with circling run bys this entire series, starting with game number 1. Every time he gets in there, he manages to snipe a few drones, and that can make a big difference. He's ahead in walkers with a gold base.
So what Todd was saying earlier, I really want to highlight this because this is actually pretty smart. The gold base is going to mine out first for Solar, obviously, but that means that later on, or rather, Nerchio right away. But Solar can get his gold base later on and get way ahead. So one thing, if we do go into like a later game down the road, one of the primary objectives for Nerchio, if he wants to win this, is to deny access to Solar's gold base.
I like everything Nerchio is doing right now. He's on 6 gases against just 5. Hydra then is really what's missing because he's only missing Roach and Ravager. So I think does he want to hit the timing here? Maybe just stay on +1, get another hatchery on another base, and just keep on massing and attacking. Nerchio's one of the best players. Like he was always one of the best at landing fungals and managing, I think even blinding clouds. But in this case, it's a lot about the Ravager control and using that Bile very well, which I think
Right.
Nerchio is one of the best Zergs at that by far.
And if you notice in this race that's been going on here, he's effectively running around and taking out more Overlords than Solar is, which is not only denying vision, but it's denying supply for short periods of time, which means that Nerchio is 100% going to max out before Solar is. And when you max out, that's when you start attacking, you start flooding, you start zoning. You do everything, or anything and everything to make sure that their opportunities get limited for the rest of the game.
I mean, if we look at the Roach and Ravager counts, Nerchio is on 37 Roaches, 10 Ravagers, 33 Roaches against him, and 5 Ravagers. So he's doing quite a bit better army-wise in numbers, in sheer numbers, and composition as well. Like, he's got that mix of Ravagers where basically you have to pull back all the time because there is always Bile being used on top of your army. If you're Solo, apparently, if you're Nerchio as well, because that was a bit of friendly fire here.
Yeah. Okay, he's coming down here, taking out these Overlords. Now remember, there's nothing to spot here besides creep if you don't have Overlords out on the map. So getting rid of that is going to be very helpful for Nerchio if he does decide to poke in areas that Solar might not be ready for. The Solar is nearing maxing out as well. Looks like he's going to try to head over here towards the right. Just taking out the creep tumor there. That's a little bit less to deny creep than it is. It's more so to deny vision. He's going to come up here. Let's see how this battle goes.
Yeah, the Bile is going to be the most important factor here between both players.
And he's pushing forward now. Nerchio is confident. Right now, Solar splitting his armies up. One in the south, one in the north. They're going to regroup back around this corner. But Nerchio is not just yet. Excuse me, I was going to say he's not backing up, but then he just does exactly the opposite.
Solar was forced to split, and Nerchio was forced to pull back, because when Bile is being spammed on a ramp like this, you can't really go down there, otherwise you'd lose everything. So I think Nerchio's starting to realize that Solar's just kind of gonna turtle for now, and I love this. He starts Burrow and Tunneling Claws. He wants to send Roaches all over the place. Do you know what there is in this game here for Solar? And it's Spores. And in terms of Overseers, I don't think he has that many. It's just the one that's flying around on the top side of the map right now. That's actually going to die as well, probably.
Looks like Nerchio, they're going to come through here. We might not even get to that Burrow moment. He's coming down now. Now we have Corrosive Biles. Not a lot of wiggle room right now for Nerchio to try to dodge these Biles. He's going to go back up the ramp, and that's going to be a victory there for Solar. Solar is going to, looks like, continue to press forward until Nerchio gets to a prime position up there at the top of that ramp where you can't quite get up there and do the damage. Excuse me, no, Solar gonna poke in again, but for that exact reason we saw there, it's risky to fight when you're going up and down a ramp because your opponent's basically never going to miss hitting you with the Corrosive Biles.
And interestingly, he actually goes into a Spire here behind those Nerchio. So I was wondering about the transition, and there it is finally. So I guess Burrowed Roaches into Mutas is going to be his option, but right now he's trying to catch this army of Solar to try and kill as much as possible before the transition finally happens.
He's coming in right now. Corrosive Biles are both being fired, forcing the other players to retreat back to their respective sides of the map. But with the small group of Roaches now, they're going to be spread out all over the place. He's going to try to start hitting drones everywhere. If Nerchio can get out of position, that will allow Solar to then do a huge push. Look at this. Solar actually fishing Nerchio back into his base. He's trying to get Nerchio's attention over here.
Look at the top side of the map. We have Burrowed Roaches getting in position here. This could be the winning move for Solar if he can do a lot of damage. Spores and Spines are about to go up on Nerchio. He somehow smells this coming. That's only on the natural, though. There's nothing in the main.
Yeah, well, he sees now that their the upgraded Roaches are out on the map. That means there could be these Roaches somewhere else. It looks like he's going to back up and park them elsewhere.
And Nerchio's already maxed out, by the way. He can't get Mutas right now.
Yeah, that's true. It's they're basically going to have to start losing units somehow. This actually may be beneficial to Solar if he starts running his army around the map, because he's going to lose those Roaches no matter what, but he can at least kill drones and take away some of Nerchio's army.
Oh, this is great here, to have a Spore there just on time, plus enough Roaches to deal with this. Solar, he didn't spot the Spire yet. He's getting very close to it here around the natural of Nerchio. It feels like neither player can really engage here with his army. It's just because Bile is too scary. Nerchio still one upgrade ahead, having the Carapace.
You know what it seems like? When you have both players going for unit compositions like this, the Corrosive Bile, it kind of transforms the way the game's operating, and you end up with this forced no man's land on a lot of positions. It's like trench warfare here.
Yeah.
They can't really go too much further.
But actually, if Solar can get in that position here towards the gold base and make sure he can keep on spinning Bile, that would be great for him. That's why Nerchio ran back there super fast. He wants to make sure that doesn't happen. Hydra then now on the way here for Solar.
Nice job taking out those two Overlords. Nerchio going to shove here. He's pushing back. He's going to try to overwhelm this army for the time being. And meanwhile, at the north up here, we have those Brood Roaches continuing to run around, trying to wreak havoc, trying to take out as many drones or tech elites as they can. Nerchio, however, at the south, continues to press back.
God, both players have been so good at dodging these corrosive bites every single time.
Looks like he's going to clean these roaches, no problem. Good job here by Nerchio. 200 supply to 186.
Nerchio,
occasionally you want to free up your supply if you want to do some kind of tech shift into something else more sophisticated.
He's been trading a lot better. Like there is about 4,000 resources difference, so he's been doing really well in those fights. And now Nerchio has a gas count that's actually really scary. Like as much as Solar wants to go into Lurkers because he's getting a Lurker Den here, if he's not very high on Mutas, those Mutas that will come out will start on doing a lot. And that base, it looks like he's going to be forfeit here. This is a big move for Nerchio, who again has a massive economy behind this.
He should probably just try to target this and then escape. All right, he hits the hatchery, he backs out. Meanwhile, over here, in the left side of the map, these roaches are going to come up here. They're going to take out this spine crawler and possibly some drones. No, these roaches are going to come up here and try to take that out instead. Meanwhile, Solar's scrambling to try to get another base, but Nerchio does seem to be getting the lead.
Yeah, Nerchio, I think he's happy with his economy here behind it. So even if he loses this army, as long as he trades well, he's going to be all right.
Plus, having this army down here at the bottom, it forces Solar to make it's impossible for him to recapture that location. So you can see Solar just trying to expand to the north as he's scrambling to catch up.
Oh, 3 Overlords died at the bottom from one whole set of corrosive bites, so...
He got a triple!
Triple kill.
Hydra Den now coming up here for Nerchio. He's basically going to finish up all the possible tech assets he can get in this game.
This is crazy. Solar's not maxed out. He just lost a bunch of Overlords, so as much as he's trying to take the gold base now, he's in trouble. Hydra Den about to finish here for Nerchio, he's so much better with his Ravagers. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, there we go.
Same armies.
All right, takes out one Overlord. And the Roach Harass from Solar, the only thing that he really has going on for him, but I don't know if he's really doing enough damage.
Oh my God, he's going to take the high ground.
Okay,
Nerchio's going to take the high ground.
He can zone him out of the gold base. Coming up here now, drones being evacuated, but they can't head to the bottom. They have to go up to the top and hide up there for now.
And Solar is just running out of options. He's still trying to send some burrowed roaches across the map to do some damage, but Nerchio getting spores all over the place in roaches. His defense has been so good in this game every time.
Yeah, he's Nerchio is going to have a new fresh base, and Solar may be mining out in a little bit here. I mean, Nerchio is in great shape, and here's the thing. Nerchio knows it. All he has to do is keep the lead. And you don't even have to go and kill your opponent, because when you're in a lead in a position like Nerchio, it's actually Solar's problem to figure out how to end this, because otherwise he's going to run out of minerals.
The income far superior here right now for Nerchio. This might be it. He might just go for the fight here, and even if he doesn't win there, he can remax behind this. He's being still very patient. I think if he knew the lead he has, he might go for it, but he doesn't even really need to be honest, because Solar just has such a weak economy.
Yeah, that's right. Solar has to find a way back into this game, but it looks like Nerchio's hungry. He's going to go in. We do have Solar trying to secure this gold base. If Solar's going to go on to this game, he has to have this gold base. Nerchio coming in to poke once again, driving back. Nerchio now being driven back again. It looks like he's having a hard time trying to regroup that. I wonder if we're going to have any tech switches here coming up. We do have the Lurkers also on the way right now for Solar. That's going to make that gold base a lot tougher to reclaim.
He needs to move the 2 Lurkers here really badly to that position, those Solar. But even then, they would still be exposed to corrosive bile. In the meantime, Nerchio starts pretty much everything you can start here at this point. Burrow, tunneling class, infestation pit. And he's still got that great economy that's being left untouched for a very long time just because he defended all over the place so well.
And as you can see here, it almost seems like Nerchio kind of zoned himself away from that gold base accidentally, and then that allowed Solar to come back in there and try to claim that. Solar's still doing a good job with these Brood Roaches. I mean, it is keeping his opponent busy.
You know, earlier I kind of made a mistake. I thought it was Nerchio going for the Burrow and Burrowed Roaches stunning class, but it was actually Solar. But this time, Nerchio is really getting it, and there's still no spores on Solar's side of the map on his natural and stuff.
All right, this is actually a great spot to do corrosive piles. There's not a lot of room for those roaches to move back. Now, Nerchio is fighting with a concave, or convex rather, but Solar's still backing up. Solar's still a little bit sparse on income. Now, guys, if Solar is mining from the gold base for long enough, he's going to have a big economic edge here for Nerchio, and that lead that Nerchio's been carrying throughout this whole game may have ran out. now that Solar is going to be taking this gold base. The next few fights are going to be very critical, and we're actually going to see this huge attack into the main. Has he actually outpositioned him? He could take out all the tech here, possibly before this army can come and try to stop him. Now, does he retreat to the right, or does he go down? It looks like, just due to the positioning here, he can't run up the ramp or anything like that. Although, then again, I don't believe there's actually that much in the main. Let me check here real fast. Yeah, I mean, there's not that much important tech up in the main.
Nerchio is being super patient. He has a great economy here behind this, but his army is still... would take quite a few minerals and gas to replace. Needs to be careful not to run into these lurkers there. That could be a disaster unless he can take them out really fast. And he's going to do just that. And now he's going to spam that ramp once again.
Oh my God.
Split.
He actually locked him out of the bridge. The gold base is exposed. Nerchio continuing to do too much damage once again. The drones have been evacuated. And in what has just been an incredible series of games, it looks like Nerchio is actually going to defeat Solar.
Yeah, there's not much to do here at this point. Solar with one last ditch attempt. He's gonna move back in there, but it's mostly Hydralisks.
He's coming down in here now. I think that's it, man. GG. Solar has been eliminated by the great Nerchio.
Just like that, Solar finishes in 4th place here in this group and he's out of the tournament. Nerchio, he will get another chance here at qualification in the deciders match that will be played later. Solar can only be disappointed here after this. He won one game here once again, but...
Yeah, they were very close, but I think Nerchio really handled that game very well. And I liked at the end, he went down, he hit that the dried up natural, but there was tech down there, so obviously Solar had to go down and try to protect it, but then as he had a few more extra units, he managed to then maneuver around to the top and lock Solar out of protecting the gold base. And so without having the ability to get the gold minerals, I think if Solar could have held on to the gold base for a while, that could have been interesting. He could have stayed in the game for longer, but Nerchio just closed it out. Very, very impressive play there by Nerchio.
There's a few folks out there who thought that these Polish Zergs, they were unlucky to get in the group with these strong Koreans.
I was one of them, man.
Solar was the one being unlucky here to get these 2 Polish Zergs because he loses to both of them and goes out of the tournament.
Crazy results we've had so far at the WCS Global Championship. We are going to go to an interview with Nerchio and see how he's feeling after this short break, so stay tuned.
Heroes of Azeroth, I have witnessed our end. Demonic armies spilling over the horizon and onto our shores. Heed my warning. The Burning Legion has returned. Stronger, more determined than ever before. These demons seek to annihilate everything upon Azeroth. No single person can stand against the Legion alone. And so you came to me. I will deal with these intruders. She wouldn't. I knew we couldn't trust her!
In the end, death claims us all.
The Legion cannot be stopped. Our time is short. Now go. But remember, should you fail, all worlds will burn.
It was Solar versus Poland twice, and it looks like Poland comes out on top, first with the laser and now with Nerchio. So first of all, congratulations, Nerchio. You've had an insanely difficult day. You first started out with playing against TY, very close series, lost 1-2, and now you defeated Solar in another intense series. Before we start talking about your series against Solar, let's just talk about TY. Again, as I just mentioned, it was very close. It came down to that last map on Galactic Process. Now, TY actually praised you a lot. He said you put up a really, really strong fight and made it really hard for him. On his side, he said he felt like the win came to his favor because of Ghosts and Liberators, but from your perspective, how do you think that game played out?
Well, first of all, I was a little bit afraid coming into the game against TY. It's like, you know, I qualified for BlizzCon. I was happy about my performance for whole year, and then I get TY in the first match. who I consider actually maybe the best Terran in the world. So the last map, well, I'm kind of lost playing against Ghost Liberator or just overall late game Terran, which we could also see at Kespa Cup against Maru. Some games where I was ahead, but then I just lost. So with this map pool right now, I'm not sure if it favors Zerg, so it's hard to play against Terran.
Well, speaking of Zerg, you were against a very, very strong Zerg. We have the recent champion of SSL that you were just up against. It came down to very, very close years. And as you just mentioned, obviously just a really strong opponent. So as someone who's been very vocal about the fact that you don't usually like ZVZ, what were your thoughts prior to this match?
Well, first of all, when I was in Korea and I played on ladder, you know, there was this tweet from Solar that I don't rate GG. And, well, I was like 110 against Solar, and that one game that I won was like a base trade where he was basically ahead anyway. So, well, my experience from playing Solar was not the best. But, well, I had nothing to lose, so I just was comfortable, not nervous at all, and it worked out.
Well, your next opponent, if you want to move on to the quarterfinals, will be either your friend Elazer or it'll be TY. Yes, sorry about that. It'll be Elazer or TY. What are your thoughts on that? I know that a lot of people, when they looked at this group, were saying that maybe Elazer is the underdog, but he proved himself by moving on to that winner's match. So what do you think about that?
Well, I'm not sure if Elazer can beat TY. Well, everyone probably favors TY quite a bit, especially because my ZVT is, I think, better than Elazer's. Well, we'll see what it will look like, but I think I will play against Elazer in the end. If it happens to be against TY, I'm still not afraid because, well, I was actually afraid coming into the first match, but if I have to, like, regame against TY, that should be kind of fine because, well, I know his style better right now. And I feel like I was playing a little bit like too safe, I guess, against TY.
I know, last but not least, yesterday I saw that you tweeted something about, you know, tomorrow, aka today, that you would show, and the circuit players today would show a much better performance than perhaps the players yesterday did. Overall, how are you feeling about moving forward in the WCS Global Finals?
Well, it's a little bit of a relief because, you know, losing basically in one day, and then staying until the end of the BlizzCon without any basically tournaments would feel really, really sad. I still consider my group really hard, maybe even the hardest. Considering how good Elazer showed here, then yeah, I think it's the hardest group. Well, I'm glad I advanced, and I'll try to improve my performance for later games.
All right, well, congratulations again, Nerchio. And with that, we do have Nerchio moving on to see who he'll be facing in that decider match of Group D. And with that, we do have 4 players eliminated at the WCS Global Finals.
Thank you very much, Smix, and congratulations once again to Nerchio. The Season 2 Star League champion is now eliminated from the WCS Global Finals in last place from this group. In control, not something we really expected.
No. I do think part of it speaks to how difficult some of these groups, I mean, all these groups are, to be honest. Solar losing, however, to, I think, Elazer is like the really big upset that puts him in this situation to then face off against Nerchio for his life in this tournament is incredible. I think on paper, Solar versus Nerchio isn't as shocking, but I think it's Solar going 0-2 to be out of here that is shocking in any stretch of the means. And the fact that, you know, he's an SSL champion and he lost to 2 Polish players is kind of cool. There's kind of something to take away from that.
It was a fun series to watch here, Autosis, to see it unfold from map to map between these two.
Yeah, I mean, Solar was bringing it back at times, it felt like he was fighting with the scraps that he had, but it seems like he just didn't know about the gold base quite early enough. He was like making a spine. It looks like he thought it was an all-in. Yeah. So, you know, when he got behind like that, it felt like Nerchio was closing it out almost perfectly.
What are your thoughts? And I know you love yourself a Zerg versus Zerg every now and then, Nathaniel. It's a couple of
It's just absolutely
moments.
beautiful. Lings, Mutas. My favorite is, you know, when the Lurkers finally come out to play. Dan and I were just basically gushing over those all game with how few that we saw anyway.
Well, game number 1 was a bopping, by the way. What we're seeing here, like this was akin to some of the other beatdowns we've seen where it was like, wow, that's a mismatch, actually. So it was nice to see in game number 2, Solar kind of drag it back and have a nicer game. I thought he played pretty well there. And also in game 3, it was very back and forth. I mean, we'll see some scenes from that in a second, but one of the cool things for me from game 3 was seeing the different styles of the two being expressed to success, Solar had the better army fights, I felt like. He was constantly avoiding the corrosive bile, whereas Nerchio was at times blowing up his own stuff. But Nerchio's positioning was far superior to that of Solar. He was constantly at the top of the ramp. He was getting in on those spaces, and he was taking the better fights that way.
Yeah, especially even like right towards the end of this game when he caught the 3 lurkers as well, like barely outside, and almost created that opportunity to do something. And then, like you said, in the 3rd game, killed quite a few. I think one of the first things he tried to kill an Overlord and got one of his own Ravagers with it. It happened maybe a few too many times.
You know, I really like how Nerchio understands how to play certain positions. Like, he takes a little bit of a risk in the beginning of this game to get that gold. Then, like Jeff was saying, he's just is always in the right position from then on, right? Because he already has the high ground. He's like, all right, now I just kind of walk around and keep track of everything and, you know, push back Overlords the bile. And
that's so hard to do, by the way. Like there's burrowed Roach Harass. We just saw that. Here's the beginning of him taking that amazing positioning. But, like, guys, this is 1-1, and as well as Nerchio has played, he could have lost 1-2 to TY and 1-2 to Solar. And I think everyone would be like, yeah, that's understandable. They're both champions. You should have lost that. But Nerchio, of course, and deservedly so, as we saw, he won't be okay with that, and was able to remain calm, cool, and win these big fights.
Yeah, just to go on what you're saying, I've seen today from Nerchio, he's been put into quite some sticky situations, really. Against TY, where he was able to stay calm and composed. His reactions to tense situations seems to be very on point. For example, the TY base trade type scenario, he dealt with that very cleanly. And even bored roaches, I think a lot of Zerg players at that moment would start to panic a little bit when they come into your main base. You don't really know what to do. You get a little bit flustered.
The game he won against TY was only extended to that point because he had the ability to make the hard choice of like, okay, my 3rd, my 4th are getting obliterated. I can't touch that army. He goes for the base trade, but it didn't even end up a full base trade. It was more of like a equal damage type of thing. But that got TY to come back, which then extended the game so that he could win. And I'm going to make this about the point I said earlier, because I actually think this does come full circle. But like, Nerchio has been, in our highlights, he's been all over the world on these stages, either winning or losing very close. Like Showtime, who's here, was one of the only people to beat him in those in the finals. And I think with that experience, playing Solar is a doable thing for him at this stage. There's thousands of dollars being flung around, and everyone's watching, and he's still not making mistakes. I think that's incredible.
You know, he does have more experience than most everybody. He's been playing StarCraft 2 since the beginning. He's played countless online tournaments and ladder games. We haven't seen him maybe like on televised matches as much, but that's because he didn't really have the opportunity for his entire career, right? And now that he's starting to get out there more, this is all just kind of coming together for him.
And I really feel like this is kind of blowing the tournament wide open now, because a lot of people come into this and you have a pretty good array of non-Korean players, but Neeb's the guy who was recently seen actually beating them on a big stage, you know, where it really counted. And now we're here at the global playoffs, and it's actually happening for other players as well. It's no longer just is Neeb going to carry the foreign torch? It's like, well, we saw amazing PvP out of Showtime so far. We have in this group now guaranteed either a Laser or Nerchio are going to make it out into the top 8. So it's no longer all on one player, and you kind of really get the you know, the foreigners fighting back vibe from this round of 16.
Absolutely. Like, who do we actually have eliminated? Only Snoot for the foreigners is eliminated, right? Petit Drogo, he still absolutely does have a chance. Neeb, obviously, in that winner's match, right?
Sure.
At least one of these two from this group is going to be going through.
My
Could even be both.
my cautionary tale would be that we are guaranteed either a Laser or Nerchio, but there are still the juggernauts, the people that we had. Like, I do think Solar for me is someone would go into this and say he's like one of the top 5 favorites, but we're still talking Beyond, we're still talking TY, Dark. When one of those guys go down, I'm gonna be like losing my mind. But for right now, the foreigners are putting up a show, and that's awesome, and I think we can be proud of that. But they've got so much work ahead of them, because there's 3 people that are like, they might have very well been like, all right, so what are you going to spend the $200,000 on? He's like, well, I don't know. What are you going to spend the $100,000 on? Like, they could do that. That's a lot of money, and they're that good. But we do. Showtime, Neeb, they're in the winner's match. One of these 2 guys is going to get bopped by TY probably, and then fight for their life. So I'm excited. There's a lot of great StarCraft coming up.
Well, day 2 has definitely been fun. We can confirm the results from Group D for you now as well. And as these guys have said to my left, we do have a guaranteed Polish player playing at BlizzCon next weekend in the top 8, as you can see now on screen. Laser and TY will be playing tomorrow in the winner match day. So tomorrow we'll be going through all the winner matches, and then Nerchio will fight on Sunday to see if he can also join through to perhaps play at BlizzCon itself.
What percent do you give Laser beating TY and then Nerchio beating TY? Out of 100.
I think it's kind of low, I think.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know how
what if?
I don't know how low.
That would be crazy.
How many
but
veggie burgers do you put on that?
No veggie burgers.
Zero hot dogs
whatsoever.
No hot dogs for sure.
Maybe the
hot dog
bottom
bet.
part of the bun. But I mean, TY, I think he's actually one of the big favorites to take down the entire tournament.
Yeah.
So, as you were saying, it's like, yeah, the foreigners are looking fantastic, but I still want to withhold judgment a little bit until we see how do these very top guys that are actually winning against the other Koreans, how do they do against Zest, Dark, TY, Byun. Those are like the 4 Koreans where you're like, okay, these guys are the true gods of this game right now.
And that's what we're going to see hopefully tomorrow in tomorrow's highlight games of the winner matches. We can also check in with Group C as well. That was just a couple of hours ago where we saw quite an interesting group here. Byun dominated. We'll be seeing him tomorrow against Showtime, which I think is going to be an interesting one. Showtime definitely hasn't had the strongest of Protoss versus Terran matchup, and now he's going up against one of the tournament favorites. And then, of course, we have Dia, who'll be fighting for elimination, or decider, should I say, the decider match on Sunday with Violet being eliminated. But tomorrow's match, Byun versus Showtime. We saw what Byun did to Violet.
I feel like it could almost end up being the same thing. I think Byun's TVP in particular is gross. And I'd love it if Showtime proved us wrong, but I think that's a bopping. And then that brings that really scary scenario where then it's Deer against Showtime. And at least it hasn't been as much lately, but I was talking about this behind camera. It's like, how often can you think of this format where someone gets knocked in the lower bracket, comes back up and beats the guy that knocked them down there? Deer versus Showtime could face up to be an amazing match. It'd be really fun.
He did say that it's unacceptable to lose to Showtime again if he hits him, and I think everyone's favoring Byun there, so I wouldn't mind seeing that and seeing if, okay, Deer, were you just talking trash or are you just upset? Like, are you going to smack him down? But, I mean, I don't think so.
I can't wait. That's going to be a great match. It's going to be good.
Well, so 12 players now remaining in the tournament. Thank you very much, gentlemen. 12 players do remain in the tournament. Tomorrow will be all about the winner matches. So tomorrow we'll be guaranteeing ourselves 4 players to be going forward to play at BlizzCon next weekend. And then on Sunday, we'll be getting the other 4. Thank you very much for watching today. Do remember to also follow the Twitter at StarCraft and check out youtube.com/StarCraft for all content around this beautiful game. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. It's winner match day.